Good evening. I apologize for the slight delay. I would like to call this meeting to order, please. May I have approval of the agenda? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, moving on to announcements.
I'm like, no, that's you.
Oh, that's me. Thank
Yeah.
We just assumed it was you too.
Good evening. Since the last Board of Education meeting, we have graduated 439 students, celebrated and honored our retirees, and kicked off the summer food program, which is now up and running at a number of locations throughout the city. Summer school started last week, and students are having a great time. Registrations are still being accepted at the schools. Please note that there will be no summer school July 4th through July 6th. The first day of the 2018-2019 school year will be September 4th, 2018. Visit www.beloitschools.net/backtoschool for information about registration, back to school nights, and more. If you have a child that will be either 4 or 5 before September 1st, we would love to enroll them in our 4K and 5K classes. All classes are full day and meals are provided. Beat the August rush and long lines by enrolling today. Our central enrollment office is here to help you and your child. Call 608-361-4023 or 608-361-4171 for more information. Colac Education Center hours for the month of July are 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, or other times by appointment. Please note, in observation of Independence Day, the district will be closed on July 4th. Thank you, and this concludes this evening's announcements.
Thanks, Kyle. I'm going to turn it over to Jen.
Thank you, Madam President. I am Jen Thompson, the Public Information Officer for the school district. So thanks for those of you tuning in at home and everybody who's here in the room. We have a few recognitions tonight. First of all, we have some schools that we would like to congratulate for being recognized for their efforts in implementing an equitable, multi-level system of supports. Our buildings are working so tirelessly to create a system to meet the needs of all of our students. This rewarding work, it takes the determination of many, many people. These systems of supports are proactive and responsive, adjusting to the needs of the whole child. So the Wisconsin RTI Center created this special recognition program to encourage schools to expand, refine, and sustain their work of multi-level systems of support. The award affirms the dedication and hard work that our schools invest in all of our students. So many of our schools were recognized this year for their incredible PBIS systems, and many of them have their school leaders here tonight. So being recognized at the silver level for behavior, and silver level means that this is not their first year getting this award, so we should clap especially hard for these two schools, is Todd Elementary School and Merrill Elementary School. Do we have representatives from those buildings? I'm sure there will be questions for you. You might want to stay here. Yep. Your colleagues will be joining you. At the bronze level for behavior, we have a number of schools. Beloit Learning Academy, and if you're in the room, if a representative from the school is in the room, come on up and join us, because Betsy is feeling lonely. So Beloit Learning Academy, Fruzen Intermediate School, Aldrich Intermediate School. I know I saw Joe and Sheila come in dripping wet, because the weather is so great out there. McNeil Intermediate School, Home of the Lancers.
That would be Home of the Warriors.
Oh, I'm sorry, Home of the Warriors. Now, y'all need to come up here so that the camera can get you. This isn't your first rodeo. Come on. Y'all got this. Robinson Elementary School, Hackett Elementary School, Gaston Elementary School, and Converse Elementary School. So if we can give these schools a round of applause, that would be terrific. I know some of our schools couldn't make it tonight because many people are either on summer break and a lot of folks are away at training. So these schools will receive their official awards packages at the PBIS Leadership Conference in August. Does anyone have any questions for our team or comments?
Good evening. I just want to say thank you to all of you for I want to say thank you for all of the hard work that you all are doing in your various schools. Don't only just take this recognition upon yourself, but take it back and share it with your staff, and also communicate that to your students and your parents and thank them as well. It's one team, one fight.
Just one final comment. Thank you so much. I know PBIS is a lot of hard work, but it pays off. And you make a big difference when you do this for our kids, not just at the grade level they're at, but as they move up. So we appreciate it, and you're laying the foundation. So nice job.
Our next recognition tonight, I'm not 100% sure they're in the room, but we're going to recognize them anyways because we want the community to hear, even if they're not here. The Wisconsin Global Education Achievement Certificate is awarded to graduating high school students who have demonstrated a strong interest in global citizenship by successfully completing a global education curriculum and engaging in co-curricular activities and experiences that foster the development of global competencies. Now, this is important to all of us at the School District of Beloit. After all, our mission states that we are committed to preparing each student to compete, contribute, and thrive as an admirable citizen in a rapidly changing world. This program is authorized by DPI to recognize honors in at least 8 credits of courses, distinguishing students as bilingual and as global citizens who value multicultural perspectives through academics, service work, and participation, leadership, and community events. Some of the requirements of this intense recognition include global coursework, world language courses, independent reviews and reflections on at least 8 works of international and cultural relevance, co-curricular involvement, and global community service. So we are excited tonight to recognize and introduce, if they're here, Liliana Dominguez and Daphne Aika, who have completed all the requirements and have earned the Distinguished Global Education Achievement Certificate. Are those ladies here? Well, accepting this board recognition on their behalf is Jen Thompson. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Appreciate it. We are now on to item D, citizens or delegations. I'm going to take a few moments here before we move on. We are now at the point of the agenda for citizens or delegations. Because of what occurred last month during this portion of the televised board meeting, I would like to say a few words of my own prior to taking public comments. We are all very fortunate to be a part of the United States of America. We live in a democracy, and we enjoy the freedom associated with it. People throughout our history have sacrificed in large and small ways for the rights we all have, and people will continue to do so both now and in the future. Freedom, however, does not only require sacrifice and work, but also responsibility. Not all of us will be asked or will choose to sacrifice for freedom, but we all must be responsible both for it and what we do with it. We seem to have forgotten that both nationally, as this country separates children from parents, and locally. In my role as board president, I spend a great deal of time listening. Over the past few months, I've heard our children, including our student board representative, tell me that they are being bullied in our schools and nothing is being done. I have listened to parents who have called me to tell me that they are leaving the district, often a district they believe in, but they must put the interest of their child first, and their child does not feel safe and is not learning in our schools because of bullying. I have listened to staff tell me that they have been mistreated and feel bullied to be silent. Sadly, bullying is a human affliction, much like the flu that affects or infects all of us, regardless of age, race, or social economics. The people I have listened to and the pain they have shared with me are from each and every part of Beloit. While I believe that behaviors such as bullying, hatred, selfishness, and meanness are quickly becoming a national epidemic, the only way to stop it is by acting and being responsible both locally and individually. This boardroom and the actions that take place in it set the tone for our district and, most importantly, for our children. As board president, I've accepted the responsibility to ensure that this boardroom and everything that takes place here facilitates a positive climate not only for our students, but for the entire city of Beloit. Children will not thrive and learn in a climate of fear. Staff cannot perform to the best of their abilities in a climate of fear. This district will not grow in a climate of fear, and this city cannot thrive in a climate of fear. Adults who bully others lack courage and talent. Children who bully have often been traumatized and need our intervention. We can either succumb to the bullies or we can lead with love. I'm a mom first, so I choose tough love. In an effort to ensure that board meetings are a reflection of the district's mission and reflects its expectations for conduct, I will be more strictly adhering to board policy regarding citizen participation at board meetings. Moving forward, we will adhere to the existing rule of 3 minutes for each person and 6 minutes if you are using a translator. I will no longer permit citizens to give another citizen their 3 minutes. We will politely interrupt anyone who goes over the allotted speaking time. In the event that a citizen does not speaking, when asked to do so, I will instruct district staff to turn off the camera and microphone. I will recess the meeting, leave my chair, and stand at the back of the boardroom. I will resume the meeting when the out-of-order citizen takes a seat or leaves the room. With that in mind, let me continue. The Board of Education is now at the place on the agenda where we will receive public comments from individuals or delegations on areas of interest that are not on the agenda. The Board of Education will generally not respond or act on items that are not on tonight's agenda. Appropriate items will be referred to administration or one of the board's committees. Persons wishing to speak on one of the posted agenda items may do so as items are called by the board president. While the board and district welcome public comments, we as a board also must ask that you exercise care in your comments that relate specifically to district employees or persons connected with the school system. In order to protect the rights of these individuals and in the interest of complying with open meetings law on prior posting of items for consideration at this meeting, the board reserves the right to end comment on such topics. The use of specific names of district personnel may lead to legal liability on the part of the speaker. The board would also remind the public that the board has existing procedures in place to dispose of legitimate complaints against staff members and persons related to the system. Persons desiring to speak should complete the public comment card, hand it to the board secretary, and then proceed to the podium. You will then need to clearly state your name and address for the record before beginning your comments. Each person is asked to speak no more than 3 minutes unless you are using an interpreter. So go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Dorothy Harrell. I reside at 2284 Boulder Court in the city of Beloit. I'm a native Beloiter, a taxpayer, a homeowner, and a former educator, having worked for 20 years in this district. I'm not sure why the preface became so militaristic after the beginning statements were about the democracy of this country, but I accept what you said. I feel that we've experienced an eclipse of integrity and honesty and a culture now of the end justifies the means. Dr. Martin Luther King said, "I've decided I won't be intimidated, and I won't be silent, and I will be heard." As the president of the NAACP, I feel it's our purpose and our cause to expose the evils of structural racism. We in the civil rights community must come out as we have tonight and be clear. We view what is happening in this district as blatant discrimination based on gender and race. We recognize that the African American male is an endangered species in this district. You can count the number of African American males in your staff on one hand. And we witnessed the struggle that ensued when one of them, with over 40 years of experience working in this district, was almost denied the right to become a temporary interim vice principal at BLA for no good reason. Witnessing this, along with the inability to accept even one male of color from this district to interview for the superintendent position is a travesty that we must acknowledge and address. We saw, and now we hear, that a person who has been interim superintendent on at least 2 occasions will not be afforded the courtesy of was not afforded the courtesy of an interview, and this is absent any negative performance evaluations. Why? Because this board has operated against promoting and supporting males of color. I know the old adage is, don't hate the player, hate the game, and I do hate the game. We question the credibility of this board. We question the credibility of the outside search firm you hired. What candidates did they really recommend? None of your current employees could be recommended. 3 candidates, 1 white, 1 Hispanic, and 1 black, were chosen to interview, none of them with more experience or credentials than the people you had here. Only the 1 African-American male who was granted an interview was under investigation in his district and immediately taken off the roster. And we feel that the board pretended they were unaware of this because they immediately disqualified him. That's the old bait and switch tactic. But a question remains. Why was he even more attractive to you than someone you have worked with over the years and had success with? Because you have operated with conscious and unconscious bias, too much self-interest, and ones on the board who go along to get along and will not accept that they need to speak up. And the old adage again is, your silence will not protect you. The board has now said it will offer a contract for a year for someone else to come in and learn from those who have already been here working successfully. You're going to offer over $100,000 contract for somebody to come in for 1 year.
Your time is up.
Okay, 1 postscript. As you have heard, I sent you all an email on June 5th. I got not even 1 response from anyone on the board. So my postscript is, we will remember that when it comes time for election, and you will then understand why you are not under consideration. Thank you.
My name is Harriet Knight Everett. I live at 855 Burton Street, apartment 12, a tax-paying citizen of this community. I was going to relinquish my 3 minutes to one of my leaders. But again, the rules changed. I think that's what bothers me so much. I don't know as much about the inner workings of the board. I'm researching and I'm learning. But this rule changing is just blowing my mind. The way this board, in my opinion, has been operating to suit your own purposes, it's just unbelievable, and it's foolery. So I will leave you with this. Recall is an option.
Good evening. My name is Sabrina Knight Williams. I reside at 1225 Burton Street, number 4, Beloit, Wisconsin. I relinquish my time to Pastor Ivy.
My name is Regina Allen. I live at 1226 Copeland. I was going to relinquish my time to Pastor Ivy, but I just want to say, you just spoke up on bullying. You just bullied us up out of the 3 minutes.
My name is Sandra Taylor. I live at 1352 Nelson, Beloit, Wisconsin. I was relinquished my 3 minutes to Pastor Ivy.
My name is Chelsea Vaughn. I live at 1117 Keeler Avenue. My mom always taught me if I ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
My name is Vanessa Brown. I live at 2213 Canterbury Drive in Beloit, Wisconsin. I'm a taxpayer and a homeowner, and I relinquish my time, my 3 minutes, to Pastor Ivy.
Good evening. My name is Lloyd McGee. I'm a business owner at 1615 Park Avenue and a homeowner. I just want to say, you know, it seems, not seems, but just we can see that, you know, we say one thing, but we are promoting fight and injustice against each other. We want to fight, or it look like the board want people to be angry. It look like we say one thing, but do we really want to work together? Is this designed to like say, well, we're going to show them? I mean, that's all I see here. You know, at every turn, it's like inhumanism. Where is our human character? What listen, when we talk about kids, you know, in the animal world, and this ain't about the board, the people that come to stand up for justice. It should be about the kids. And when animals are in trouble, you know, when the animals their kids are in trouble in the wild or wherever, they form a circle around them. They forget about their personal gains and their personal, you know, abilities. They willing to give their life. And, you know, what we see here is professionals willing to uphold what they feel I'm about. I don't pay my dues or this or that. But, you know, the more you know, more is required. And when I look at this board, or when I look at our community, or when I look at over the 50 years that I have been here, you know, haven't nothing changed but a lot of this. And each generation that come forward, they say the same thing over and over and over. And it's like that it's going to go away. But people make change. And justice is, and fairness is what it's all about. But, I mean, we can look at each other's faces and see that we don't give a damn about each other. What's the problem here? You are paid. You are public servants. And it's like, well, here they come. Now we got to show them. Listen, this is about our kids. You know, and for any personal fight, you know, what you have in you, you know, that's formed this circle to really promote this community and this educational system. Because it don't take a rocket scientist to see that we are a joke. And listen, truth don't need no friend, and we're not going to go away. You know, and that's all. I love you. Peace be unto you.
My name is James Ivey, 1905 Mound Avenue, Beloit, Wisconsin. I'm here to articulate the thoughts, opinions, and strong feelings of a great number of taxpayers, voters, and residents of the Beloit community. And we are here calling for this board to reverse its decision to seek an outside hire for the interim superintendent of Beloit School District and to retain Dr. Darrell Williams in said position. This is not the first time that I've stood before this board to state my discontent and the community's dismay on this issue of interim superintendent position. After the May 22nd school board meeting, where I and a number of others spoke thoughts about the board's decision regarding the interim superintendent position, it was clearly evident that our voices and our concerns on this matter were either not heard or were not considered as vital to this board. I say that because just a week later, on Thursday, May 31st, it was posted on the school district website that this board would begin to conduct a search to hire an interim superintendent and that the board would seek to fill the position by July 2nd. After knowledge of that post and the decision of this board was circulated, it had quickly become the concern and consensus of a great number of school district stakeholders that this decision and the process by which it's being carried out can only be described as egregious, impractical, unfair, and unnecessary. For the school board to go forward with this decision to search for, interview, and hire an interim superintendent by July 2nd means the board would remove the present interim, Dr. Darrell Williams, from this position and have him to return to the position of assistant superintendent. That means Dr. Williams would be working as a subordinate to the outside hire interim for 1 year until the search for superintendent is begun and completed in 2019. We feel it is most unfair of this board to disregard the improvements and impact Dr. Williams has made within the district during this term as interim superintendent. Dr. Williams has served this district as interim superintendent very well. And the proof of Dr. Williams' ability not to only retain his present position as interim superintendent, but his experience, credentials, and aptitude to fill the position of school superintendent have certainly been made evident. And for this board to seek to hire an outside interim superintendent is not only to negate the positive impact and improvements made by Dr. Williams, but it also has fostered a collective vote of no confidence in the ability of this board to make the best decisions on behalf of our children who are to be educated and cared for in this district. The positive impact and many improvements that Dr. Williams has made within this district include improvements of the school report cards, student achievement, the exponential decrease of student in-school suspensions from 5,000 to less than 800, and the rise in diversity within the administrative personnel of the district, just to name a few. I make reference to this improvement and to Dr. Williams' impact here and now because the only way a person could discover the positive outcomes of Dr. Williams' leadership as interim superintendent is through an individual's personal observations, being present and involved at school facilities, or hearing about it from some staff member or a proud parent. And this is because this board has not given Dr. Williams any of the credit, commendation, support, or respect he so rightfully deserves. Having said that, I want to express briefly this community's collective grievance with the school board's decision because of the inherent unfairness and obvious inconsistency. My reference to inconsistency is regards to the policies of the board and the precedents set by the board.
I'd like to ask that we let Reverend Ivy proceed because we gave no notice of this, and he's being polite. We gave no notice of this. I'd like to let him proceed for an extra 6 minutes if he needs it. I don't think it was fair that we didn't. People came prepared to give him their time. I'm just asking. I don't know if it's policy because I can't find the policy. I've been looking for it. I'm not trying to cause trouble.
So I will let you proceed to 6 minutes.
Thank you. Having said what I've just stated, I want to express this community's collective grievance with the school board's decision because of the unfairness and obvious inconsistencies. My reference to the inconsistency is in regards to the policies of the board and the precedents set by the board. According to the school board policy number 225, made public by the school board's website, it states that the superintendent of schools shall be evaluated annually by the Board of Education in order to provide feedback to the superintendent regarding job performance. The evaluation shall allow the board to identify areas that the superintendent may need to improve and to encourage and commend the superintendent in the areas that are especially well done. Now, I'm sure that this policy and procedure of evaluation applies to the person serving as interim superintendent in the absence of a superintendent. However, it is my understanding that this board has not given Dr. Williams an official evaluation since he served the board and the district. Therefore, to entertain a search for another interim superintendent and not to retain Dr. Williams in this position without evaluating his job performance and giving him the encouragement to continue a job well done, nor the commendation for the good job he is doing, is unconscionable and the very definition of unfairness. And not to retain him in this position without official evaluation begs so many questions. And the first line of questions are, on what basis is this board making its decisions to seek an outside hire so quickly? Why must the board move forward with this decision with such unnecessary urgency? What is really the reason this board feels Dr. Darrell Williams is not the best fit and most qualified person to retain this position in which he is currently doing such a good job? The second line of questions that demand answers are, what goals or expectations of Dr. Williams as interim did he not meet? What responsibilities or requirements as interim did he not fulfill? What actions or infractions did he commit that would justify his not being retained in the position of interim? For this board to decide not to retain Dr. Williams as interim without having justifiable reasons has only bred a distrust in the board's ability to overcome any personal agendas and make decisions in the best interest of our children in the school district. Also, according to board policy 221, it states when an opening in the superintendency occurs, the Board of Education shall aggressively recruit in an effort to fill the position with the most capable persons available. The board shall consider only those candidates who meet both state and local qualifications and who display the ability to successfully carry out the duties required of the superintendent of schools. And the point I want to lift up is where the policy states the board shall select a superintendent at a legally held regular or special meeting of the board. A majority vote of the board shall be required to appoint the superintendent. The unfairness and the inconsistency of this board is seen in this regard in that in the recent past years, when the position of school superintendent was vacant and the need to choose a superintendent arose, the board first searched and appointed from within. Without a formal search or interview process, the board selected and appointed Mr. Steve McNeil to fulfill the position. After the resignation of Mr. McNeil, the board again searched from within and again, without a formal search or interview process, appointed Dr. Tom Johnson to serve as superintendent. Therefore, I am asking the board, why was it expedient for the board to appoint Mr. McNeil and Dr. Johnson, but that same expediency is not extended to Dr. Williams? Not to afford Dr. Williams the same respect, the same consideration and opportunities as were extended to his predecessors, both of whom were white males, I should add, makes the decision-making abilities and the search process of this board gravely suspect. There's the growing concern in the community about the board's ability to make decisions in the best interest of the district, but you continue to make decisions that take actions that give the perception of cronyism, racial bias, and personal private interest of certain members of the board. It has become undeniably apparent that this board is operating with blatant inconsistencies and biases. And it is our intentions to bring this inconsistency to light in the hope that it is expressed here tonight by myself and others that they be received and not ignored. And then in closing, according to board policy number 150, it is stated that the Board of Education recognizes its responsibility to act as the decision-making body for the school district of Beloit. Its chief concern is the development, operation, and improvement of the school district and to provide excellence in education for the school community. To achieve this goal, the board believes that it can make contributions in several levels by selecting and supporting an able superintendent of schools, by encouraging the superintendent and other staff members to seek professional self-development in appropriate ways, and by joining in efforts to clarify the goals of the schools. The point of note I lift up now is how the board policy number 150 ends by stating, the board is responsible to the people and therefore should reflect the opinion of the community consistent with reasonable board perception of future needs. The board shall support those educational philosophies and procedures needed to promote a superior education for the Beloit students based upon the needs of the student population. And so, in that the board is responsible to the people, it must be said to this board that we, the people, are calling on each of you to do what is right, which includes being committed to your policies, to be fair in your processes, and to be consistent in your precedents. And should our presence here tonight not be taken into serious consideration by this board, we, the people of this committee, and the stakeholders of this district, are committed and prepared to take the next steps to do what is legally necessary to ensure that the persons who are elected to hold these seats, which you now hold, are people who know the right thing to do and have the courage to do it. And in this moment, the reasonable and right thing to do is to reverse your decision to seek an outside hire for the interim superintendent, to retain Dr. Williams in this position, to extend to him the respect and the support needed to succeed, and to provide him a fair and equitable opportunity to move our school district forward. Thank you.
Do I have any other citizen or delegation that wishes to speak?
I want to just come and stand on behalf of, my name is Elder Robert Grimes Jr., 14 Honey Harvest Street. I just wanted to come and stand on behalf, just say New Life is standing firm with Dr. Williams to be hired, amen. And just want the folks to know that. I just wanted to make a statement. I graduated from Blunt Memorial in 1987, and you know, I've heard many wonderful things about Dr. Williams, and I see him in the barber shop. Why go look for somebody and search for somebody that don't know the community, don't know the area, don't know us, don't know y'all, when you got someone here that's able to do the job? Isn't that the responsible thing to do? To hire someone within that know the community, that's doing a great job, that done been there, that care? Isn't that what the district's about? That's what it was when I went to school, about folks that care about the kids, care about the community. So Dr. Williams, he cared. So New Life is standing with Dr. Williams. That's all I wanted to say. God bless you.
Do I have any other citizens or delegations? Okay, moving on. I am going to move on to superintendent's reports to the board, please.
Good evening. At this point in time, we'll have several reports. The first report will be given by Mr. Winters, talking about the Welcome Center update. He'll be followed by Mr. Bonds with the superintendent's update, then followed by Tasha Bell with the equity update, and we will also have a financial analysis by Ms. Joanne Armstrong, and lastly, we will have a report from Mrs. Pels about the student code of conduct. Go ahead.
Good evening. I'll be brief. We actually did break real ground instead of with a shovel, which is kind of nice. My latest report from Deal Bank is that we have installed erosion controls, which is fantastic. We have located existing utilities, which can be a handful. But more importantly, we have come up with a path for the new utilities, such as power, fiber, very important step for us. The building pad subgrade has been completed. That is the dirt and gravel underneath the concrete pad. So that, again, another huge step. And more importantly, we had our pier contractor install the first test pier today. What that does is it's boring a hole down to solid foundation and then filling that hole with concrete. And what they did today was they tested the load on that pier to make sure that we're stable. I do not know the results of that yet. I'm sure we're going to be fine. After that comes back positive, we'll do the rest of the piers and then the concrete foundation. That'll last about 3 weeks. So we are on schedule. April 1 is our date we're shooting for. I hope to be in our office by then. So, any questions?
All right, thanks for the hard work, and we're looking forward to watching it come up. I went past there today on my way to pick up my son at the high school, so
we're actually doing something.
We're getting there.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to share a little insight on our summer school programming. Just want to make sure I communicate to the entire community that we have been steadfast focused on improving outcomes for students, increasing the amount of experiences our students have in the summertime is one of those ways. Research clearly shows that a number of our students lose 2 to 3 months of academic gains during the summer, and we call that the summer slide. So one of the things that we have strategically placed in our strategic plan and goals is to expand summer school opportunities, and we have done so this year. I'm excited about what has occurred this summer with programming and the increase in student performance. So I'm going to share a little insight for our summer school programming. First of all, our goals was and are to increase student enrollment, to improve programming options for students, to increase the number of days and minutes, and to create convenient opportunities for students and families, and to increase overall student performance. At the end of the day, our primary goal is to increase student performance ongoing, again, by reducing that summer slide. Our summer school sites are held at the following sites: Merrill and Hackett. Summer school begins at 7:15 and goes into 2:15. It goes from June 18th until August 10th. As you can see, Merrill and Hackett has an 8-week program. Robinson and Gaston begins their day at 7:15 and goes into 2:15. It goes from June 18th to August 1st. Then it's a 6-week program. At our intermediate schools, Cunningham and Fruzen offer programming from 8 o'clock until 3 o'clock. BMHS offers classes from 8 o'clock until 12:05, and it is a 6-week program. Some of the efforts to increase enrollments include reaching out to families via flyers in newspaper ads, both in English and in Spanish, pushing and promoting through social media and our district's website, parent-teachers conferences, and also to provide students opportunity for additional information through email and so forth. At all of our sites, the following things are occurring. For our K-8 sites, we offer math, literacy, science as our core classes during the morning, and the entire afternoon is spent during enrichment classes for things like Lego, robotics, football, things of that nature, so things that are high interest for students. And we also offer wraparound services for students in our elementary schools. Again, technology classes are being offered, as well as students have access to technology using iPads and other devices. Meals are being provided for all students, including breakfast and lunch. And this year, we continue to provide additional compensations for our teachers for their work. And I want to thank all of our staff. I know many of our teachers and support staff, many of them love and enjoy time off and enjoy the summer, but I really truly appreciate those who decide to continue to work and support our students during the summertime. It's truly needed. So I want to thank them for all of their hard work and efforts. So here's what I'm excited about. This year, our enrollment increased by over 1,000 students from last year. So there was roughly 1,600 students participating in summer school last year. Enrollment has increased to 1,000 or by 1,000 in our site. So that's as you can tell, that's a large number of our students that are participating and taking advantage of our summer programming, and we truly are excited. The asterisk indicates that as summer school progresses, we know that there's some cleanup regarding some enrollments. We have some kids who have signed up and have not shown up, and we know there are some other areas of cleanup we need in attendance. But we are confident that at the end of the day, summer school will be significantly increased in terms of its enrollment, and we're excited about that because that means that more students are in class, taking advantage of their learning opportunities, and having a good time in all of the enrichment classes that we offer. So we're really proud of those families and those students for hanging in there, so continue to hang in there. And we will have a full fiscal picture provided to the board in the fall related to expenses and revenue. Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just do have a comment. I want to thank every parent, and I want to also thank the teachers and you, Mr. Bond, for your leadership around summer school. We know the questions that were last year, but to see those numbers up as high as they are at this particular point is a testament to your leadership and parent support at home. And thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to thank you for starting summer school at 7:15 in the morning. That really brightens our day at the Wilson House, so really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wait till they get to be teenagers. You will appreciate that early start date when they're teenagers. Let me echo that. Thank you. Great job with the numbers. You know, if we can keep this up, I would love to see 60–80% of our kids in summer school, because we know how important this is and we know how important achievement is, and this is a great step towards making sure all of that happens. So very much appreciated. Great job. Looking forward to the end of the story with the fiscal presentation, but nice work.
Thank you. Also, families, it is not too late to enroll students. We welcome them any day that you decide to send your son or daughter to summer school. Please just visit one of your summer school sites and they will be enrolled and can be enrolled. Thank you.
Good evening. I would like to share some updates from our equity report. As was noted earlier, multiple schools received recognition from DPI and the Wisconsin RTI Center. Skyward training was offered for administrators on June 21st, which is an update from when it was offered again or previously on in October at the beginning of the school year. Our language access policy is still in progress. We are currently working with Bridge and Build Sports with a Purpose to create opportunities for our students and to learn more about the business of professional sports and academics. We will have an update on that after the students are able to complete the program, but we are super excited about that opportunity, and we're one of the few school districts that are invited to participate in this great program. This month, we held joint meetings with the NAACP Education Committee to discuss the SRO contracts as well as the Code of Conduct. The Fresh Start graduation was held on June 7th, and Project 1649 also held a graduate cookout that we were able to attend. Minority Scholar Awards for students of color with a 3.5 or higher GPA for the first 3 terms of 2017-18 school year for grades 6 through 12. They were all recognized at their buildings. Our recruitment efforts are ongoing. However, we have heard from people of color within the district that they're feeling uncomfortable and unsure given the recent racial undertones. Many have commented that they are not sure if Beloit is the best place for them at this time. We have also heard from potential candidates that are hesitant to even apply for the positions that we have within our school district. They're not confident that they will be fully supported or welcome, and these issues do impact us when it comes to our recruiting efforts. Our Grow Your Own scholarship recipient was announced at the State Line Community Foundation on May 19th of this year. Thank you.
Tasha, what was the name of the sports program? I couldn't, you talk fast. So.
Sorry.
That's all right. It's just new to me.
Bridge and Build.
Bridge and Build?
Yes.
And can you give me a little bit more background? It's new to me, so I'm kind of interested.
So it's a very new program, and we are one of the few districts, as I mentioned, that are invited to participate in the program. Again, another one of those opportunities that Dr. Williams was able to bring to our district. And so it will be a partnership between a few school districts working with professional athletes to learn more about the business behind being a professional athlete and what it takes to run a professional team as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, I would just like to add to that piece. This is a very unique opportunity, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank Lamont Weaver. This whole Bridge and Build concept is based off of the Shot Heard Round the World. Most of you probably remember that. And so this is considered the second Shot Heard Round the World, with the Bridge and Build concept that's being used statewide between Beloit, Milwaukee, Madison, and Neenah. So this is also, that's Ms. Bell has already mentioned, but the big piece of this is the financial literacy piece. It's bridging the gap between sports and academics and financial literacy. So we have some students who will be participating with other students from around the state in Milwaukee. They'll be staying at the PAPS building for 3 or 4 days and learning the business, and then coming back and sharing what they have learned with other students and within the community. So we're looking forward to this. It's a great opportunity.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm sorry, I was not expecting to have to present this tonight, so bear with me. Our financial analysis that you have in your packets is the April 2008 financials. Of course, it takes us time to finalize. As you can see, we of course had our influx of revenue with our general state aid in March, so we saw that cash fund balance and our cash balance go up in March, and it starts to decline again in April, as we would expect. When you look at the comparisons between April 2018 and April 2017, we are on target. We're actually ahead of target. We have spent 59.2% of our district budget at this point in all categories. Some of that, just last year at this time, we had only spent 57%, so we're about 2% higher than what we have, which is what we want to see at this point. We don't want to end up with a available balance at the end of the year, so we are on target. We don't have any new expenses that we weren't anticipating at this point. I don't foresee any big fluctuations at this point, so I guess if you have any questions, I can address those.
Well, I appreciate you doing the first ever financial update, and I will sort of own this one. We appreciate sort of you or someone with greater financial knowledge than all of the rest of us have, just sort of putting that all together, and also for the community. So it's just an opportunity for us to summarize all of that and help the community understand where we're at. So I appreciate you doing the first ever one. You did a great job. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ms. Armstrong, I just want to thank you and Mr. Winters, in the absence of an Executive Director of Business Services, for all the extra work that you all have been doing behind the scenes to keep our district afloat in those areas. Thank you all very much.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate the support of the board and the superintendent at this time, during this time of change. So, thank you.
Good evening. Tonight I am here to share proposed changes to the the Code of Conduct, the Student Code of Conduct. These revisions are being brought to you as a collaborative effort between the School District of Beloit and the Beloit Police Department. The Code of Conduct is actually in the purple or the business packet on pages 16 through 32 for you to reference. And instead of going through every single change that we've made, because there are some extensive changes, I will just kind of summarize the process that we took, and then I will entertain any questions. So the first thing that we did was looked at each of the offenses that were listed currently in the Code of Conduct, and we identified each of those offenses in which administration and school resource officers should collaboratively address when they happen. Then the next thing that we did was look at each definition of the offenses that are listed in the Code of Conduct to ensure that the language of the definitions are in alignment with school district expectations and what state statute says defines that offense. And then lastly, we denoted each of, as I said before, we denoted each of the offenses with an asterisk so that it was very clear to administrators, parents, students, and what offenses will be collaboratively handled with administration and the SROs. So that's a summary of the changes that we made. At this time, I will entertain any questions that might be there.
So I had one or two, Emily, and it's really more for clarification because I know that this was something that you worked on collaboratively. But I also know that sometimes our SRO officers, they're shared between buildings.
Correct.
And so when an SRO is, is at Fruzen and something happens at Aldridge, how it doesn't it's not clear on what happens. So could you explain that?
Sure.
Typically, if that's something that Chief would be better at, I'm okay with that. I just
well, I can tell you right now how it's done, and you're right, it's not explicitly spelled out in the Code of Conduct how that chain of communication happens, but administrators contact their SROs directly. So while SROs do have a schedule to assign schools, because they want to ensure that they spend their time equally, we know that things happen that will pull them away. And so actually the administration and the SROs rely on each other for that communication to take place. So if something happens, an administrator would contact the SRO, and the SRO is free to leave the other building should they need to address the situation that is happening at a different school, and vice versa.
Okay, so does it happen frequently that they'd be dealing in the middle of something and then have to quick move between buildings? I guess
I mean, potentially. I mean, things happen at buildings all the time, and you can't predict what's going to happen when. So you do have to have a flexible schedule in order to accommodate those needs.
Okay. And I had one more, if that's okay. And again, it's more of a clarifying question. So I would hope that the way this reads, that that there would not be a disagreement between the administrator and the SRO, but in the event of that, there's no timeline, I guess, because it says they go back to their supervisor. Do you see any implications? I know from a teacher's point of view that the best way for discipline to be handled is quickly and immediately. So especially the younger the student, the more quickly you want that addressed because it has the most impact. Do you see that as being a potential glitch or something we might have to think about? I guess I'm asking for your opinion.
I certainly think that we have to think about it because, yes, we want to be able to address situations as expediently as we can. It does not have a clear timeline in here, but I think there's a common understanding between administration and the Beloit Police Department that if there was a disagreement to happen, we would work expediently to resolve that issue.
Okay.
We don't want discipline issues to go unhandled either. you know, for an extensive amount of time. We would like, as administrators, to have that handled right away.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Bells, thank you for your work with this, with the Code of Conduct, and I also want to publicly thank the Beloit Police Department for their support and understanding as we go through this process. But I just want the public to know, because we've had several meetings throughout the 3 years that that I've been here about the Code of Conduct and constantly revising and the issues and concerns that were brought forth by the Equality Committee and other committees and individuals within the community. Just want you to know that those concerns that you brought forward were actually discussed at the table, especially around fair and appropriate discipline and not criminalizing student behavior. So those comments and concerns have been voiced, and those are even though we discussed this here tonight, if there are issues and concerns that come up after tonight, those are issues that we can still address. But I do want you to know that the conversation between the school district of Beloit and the Beloit Police Department, we haven't always agreed on everything. Right. That's for sure. But we have come to an understanding, and I think the training that we are having in the fall before school starts between the SROs and the administrator would give us greater clarity and understanding and promote a better working relationship and better outcomes for our students.
Agreed. Thank you.
I'm looking at where it says, if it is determined that the violation is a crime or ordinance violation, the school administrator and school resource officer will collaboratively determine if legal action will be applied. I'm wondering if this is like setting the stage for the school-based diversion program that we had, that you had kind of briefly presented.
Is it setting the stage for that?
Yes.
Is that what your question is?
Yeah. Or is that your thinking? If not,
no.
Okay.
I mean, this work is not setting the stage for that to happen. No.
Okay.
Just really quickly, because Dr. Williams brought it up, can you just explain to the audience what the training involves that will be happening in the fall? I think that's an important component that gets lost in a lot of this.
And it's working on being developed, so it is not completely developed yet. But basically what we're looking to do is train our administrators and our SROs together so that everybody has a common understanding of what each other's roles and responsibilities are in addressing student misconduct. One thing that we're trying to do, first of all, is establish really solid lines of communication. And then we really want to be able to define, you know, what is something that's handled at the school level by an administrator versus what has to be handled by an SRO.
Thanks again, and thanks to everybody who agreed to come together for the benefit of our kids. It was a pleasure to watch a team effort, and I think that the Code of Conduct is a living document and is something we are never, ever done with, and the tracking measures surrounding that document are incredibly important, because the goal is that all kids in Beloit should graduate either enlisted, employed, or enrolled. And we want them on that path securely, and the way we do that is with constant vigilance on our Code of Conduct and policies to make sure that they're being applied fairly and that they're working, and that is something that's never done. So I appreciate the dedication and the hard work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next part of the agenda. We have new committee reports. So here's where I'm gonna remind everybody that we are on a new committee format. So this is I'm skipping you.
Yeah, equality.
No? Oh, got you. You know, we're all out of order, and I wanted to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So, because it's included, right? It's included in the reports to the board, right? I'm not off. I'm good. Okay, so we're on a new committee format. So bear with us as we learn this format and travel through this. But it's been another exciting initiative to more fully involve our community. So let me not take any more time. Fire away.
So at our May Equality Committee meeting, it was the will of the group that we would continue to meet throughout the summer. So that is why we have equality reports for the month of June. And we also decided that we would meet in collaboration with the NAACP Education Committee because both groups were looking to have more information provided to us from the district. So for June 11th, I don't want to be repetitive because a lot of it Emily just spoke about, but we did speak about the SRO contracts, the diversion project, and code of conduct. And one of the questions that we had in terms of the diversion project was, how can Rock County meet our needs when they cannot meet their own needs? So we were greatly concerned about the rollout of the diversion project and what that would look like and the impact for our students. Mrs. Pels was really thorough with her presentation with us, and we did appreciate it. As she mentioned before, there will be a required training this summer for SROs and administrators. And also a question was asked in terms of when are the times that the SRO and the faculty can actually be together. That was a concern. Other questions were, why is the district renewing the contract and why not eliminate the contract? What happens if we do not renew the contract? Could the money be used for mental health services? And how many districts in Wisconsin have SROs? And why is Beloit looking to extend a contract when other districts are ending their SRO contracts? And these are all questions that Mrs. Pels has received, and she will get back to the group to answer those questions. Moving on to our June 19th meeting, we met and heard from Charles Cheney as well as Robin Bai in terms of the data positions, which we knew there's a lot of data that is collected from the school district. We kind of wanted some more information in terms of what do these positions do and what does the data, where do the trends lie. We also heard from Jacqueline Jolly as well as Latricia Johnson about the roles of interventionists and specialists within our school district. Some of the questions that arose: what is being done to address the disparity around African American students? Why is Hispanic student enrollment slightly down, and are we looking into why? A clear definition of what is open enrollment, the difference between enrollment and attendance, how are we doing with truancy, are the lack of tickets actually helpful, how is the truancy officer being utilized, how are the tests different between the grades? We did notice a difference in test scores when it looked at 3rd grade and 8th grade students, so we were seeking clarification on that. What is the plan to get more reading interventionists? And also, how do we keep students engaged and want to prove how much they actually know? Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Infrastructure Committee.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Dr. Williams, when is the contract for the SROs up? When do we renew it?
I believe it's officially June 30th.
So we will be renewing it after that date?
I'll jump in here. Chief Zabolski was we were going to do that at this meeting. He is on vacation, so that was pushed will be on the next agenda to accommodate for his not being able to be here.
Okay, because I'm wondering if there might be some things in the MOU that reflect the code of conduct or vice versa. So I'd like to see
I believe the MOU was I know the MOU was a very collaborative initiative, so it will be coming to the board.
Thank you.
Okay, and the Infrastructure Committee met on June 7th. It was our first meeting now that the new committees have been structured. So we did welcome our new members to the committee, Crystal Ballard and Corey Hageman, and I swore them in, being that I'm the clerk on the board. We went over some of the procedures and the responsibilities of serving on the committee and the things that we're going to try to focus on in the committee. We did have a presentation regarding the crossing in front of Robinson School. We had a community member a community member, the principal, and we had some city staff as well there, and we discussed the possibilities of possibly getting some lights there for the crossing, but so we're going to still be in the talks with that. Nothing happened, but it was discussed. We did also discuss the Beloit Memorial High School kitchen renovation, which was later taken to the full board, and we touched on purchasing district vans and our 10-year capital plan. The next meeting will be July 12th, and we adjourn that meeting at 6:34.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
There was a light there before at Robinson. So did they say why the light was removed? Seriously,
Sure.
yeah, please. No, well, let people hear, because there are people concerned about this.
I am Dan Stofker, the safety coordinator for the, I'm getting my steps on my thing here, safety coordinator for the school district. What happened was the lights used to be right in front of the school, if you recall. It was just regular road. Well, when they made the change, it's a cutout in front of the school now where the buses come. You guys picture that? Okay, and you cannot have a crosswalk, you can't cross people into a cutout where the buses are at. So that's why they took it out. I'm not sure why they didn't just put it up again at the time, but that's why it was moved.
That was going to be my next question. Where is that light? Can we get it put up somewhere else? I know they say it cost $175,000, but it was removed.
Yeah, it's gone. And we've spoke a couple times over the years, and they have to run what they told me was lines down there and everything else, and get a new set of lights for it, stuff like that. So it's gonna, yeah, no comment.
They said that they have studied the traffic pattern in front of Robinson School, and that at the times they've checked that there haven't been enough pedestrians crossing Robinson School to warrant the light being put back in. So we're kind of collaborating, looking at other things that we can do. We talked about trying to get one of the speed signs in, that flashes, really bringing attention to that as a school zone, because I believe the speed limit is like 35 or 40 in front of it. And actually, I've driven past Cranston and driven past Robinson, and there is a speed box, but it's off, and it's quite high on the post. So if that was able to maybe be moved down, but we're still kind of looking to see what we can do to help each other resolve the issue.
Yeah, right now they have a light, and you hit it, and it does like a flashing yellow thing just to tell cars about it. I'm in charge of the cross guards also, and I tell you, it's a rough corner to keep cross guards at, because it's pretty dangerous there in Fruzen for the two.
I hope we continue to advocate for this, because they might use a number to say this justifies a light, but if we have crossing guards quitting,
right,
because it's dangerous, and we have kids from ages 4 to 10, 11?
Right.
Crossing there.
Through 3rd grade.
Yeah. There's no law that says we cannot put a light there.
Right.
And I would place the price on a student or an employee's life at a lot higher than $175,000. So I really hope that we continue to work on this and really get it resolved soon for the sake of our kids and our employees.
Because it's not so much the number of people, it's the fact that twice a day.
Exactly.
It's chaos there. Slowly dragging in the morning, but at quitting time, there's just a bunch of kids coming out.
Yeah, and chaos is a good word for it. I go down that road frequently around dismissal time, and the traffic leaving the school combined with people trying to cross the street and people trying to get into the parking lot all lined up, it really needs some traffic control there.
Right.
Especially with the age of the students. So thank you for advocating for that on that committee as well.
Sean, do you want to weigh in?
I do. Last week I met with 2 members from the city and Frank and Kern from Batterman. We met on site. What I want to focus on is the safe drop-off on school property. So we're looking at putting an additional parking lot on the other side of the building for a teacher drop-off. We're looking at how the traffic pattern is in the east parking lot. And we're also looking at multiple drop-off points on school property. Right now there's pretty much one. So we're also looking at expanding the drop-off in the back of the building to add an extra lane for speedy drop-off, but also encouraging parents to not use Cranston as a drop-off. So we are working towards a goal.
Sounds like maybe an opportunity for another joint meeting and
yes.
an event afterwards.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on. I know Shelley is not here. Can you keep going, Shelley? All right, thanks, Wendy.
Okay, and I sit on the fiscal committee. Shelley is not here today. She's the chair. We met on June 19th. Again, it's the new collaboration of these new committees, and we did have Tori Champney and Mr. Malizio. I swore both of them in as well. They both sit on the fiscal committee. We had a overview of the committee procedures and the responsibility or the scope of the fiscal committee. Roger Price was available, and he went through a bit of the budget, which we had previously received as a full board. And then we set our next meeting for July 16th.
Thank you. David, communication?
Sure. Our first meeting was Thursday, June 21st. We had 7 people in attendance from the school district of Beloit staff. Jen Thompson, our public information officer, and Dr. Williams was present. We discussed the scope of the communication committee and our roles and responsibilities as committee members. We discussed the first, I guess, action that we'll do. We didn't vote, but the communication committee, and I think Lori and Michelle will be participating in an online professional development called the Community Engagement Effect, which is an element of Blackboard, which is part of our communication tools that we already utilize as a district. We discussed the public information officer transition plan and discussed the staff, the school district of Beloit staff, who will be responsible for the duties, some of the duties that our public information officer was responsible for in that transition. We discussed the strategic plan and our 3 SMART goals and how they will lead us to create agenda items that will align with the strategic plan to keep us focused. And we also discussed site visits to meet at individual schools to have stories to share out throughout our district. Our next meeting will be either July 23rd or August 13th, and we're still looking for a few good men or women.
And you're a lot of fun to work with, so come on down, right? All right, next up, Chris, do you just want to update us quick?
Sure. The Staff and Students Committee have yet to meet, but we do have meetings planned. So the first staff committee meeting will be July 10th at 5, and essentially, it'll be much the way everyone else's, an organizational meeting to get us started. And then the Students Committee will be meeting for the first time on July 17th. at 4 o'clock. So I just wanted to make those announcements. Thank you.
All right, moving on. I would like a motion to approve the consent list, please.
I'll move approval of the consent list.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to business action items. May I have a motion for item B? Policy?
I would move that we refer this to committee.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion on the table to refer this to committee. Any further discussion?
Yeah, or do you want to go, Chris?
No.
Okay. I just wanted to make note that on April 24th, the board at the business meeting voted to send the code of conduct to the students committee. And we also cannot approve a policy in a single reading. And I also got an opinion from the WASB that this may require an ad hoc committee for development. So for those reasons, I'd like to send it to the student committee. At that time, they can talk about whether or not it goes to ad hoc or is developed there. We need input from staff on this. I've heard from many teachers today that are unhappy with some of the things in this, and we cannot move on. We can't push a policy, especially a policy like this, through in one single reading. It's against our board policy to do that, and it's not even fair to staff, parents, students to do that. So I would agree with sending it to committee.
Again, I'd like to reiterate that the only changes in this policy are changes that were made to align us with the Beloit Police Department in collaboration with the Beloit Police Department, and that this policy is a living document, one that is always looked at by the student committee and one that was also reviewed yearly as per requirement. So with that, is there any other comment?
Yeah, I'd like to respond to that. It doesn't really matter to me who worked on it. Our staff didn't have input in it. Our teachers are not happy with it. We haven't run this by parents. And we cannot, by board policy, we cannot vote to approve a policy change like this in one reading. We have to have this done in committee because that's what this board said they were going to do on April 24th. And we didn't do that. We need to go back and look at our motion, which I sent each of you, that this would go to committee. It was a unanimous decision that it would go to committee, and I want to pursue that route.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. Michelle, can you read back the motion, please?
I have that Larson moved to refer policy 443447, student code of conduct and discipline, to committee. That was seconded by Charles.
Okay. All those in favor?
Roll call, please.
Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
Charles?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Sanchez?
Nay.
Lopakar?
Nay.
Endres?
Nay.
Wilson?
Nay.
All right, moving on. I need a motion for item C, please. And Sean, do you want to just brief us on what this is quick?
Certainly.
Or not quick, just give us the needed information.
I am looking to continue with phase 2 of our classroom remodeling project at Aldrich. We will be remodeling eight classrooms this year instead of 6 as we did last year. These classrooms are in 2 blocks of 4. These 4 classrooms on each side share a common wall. We want to gut the rooms out, take the ceiling out, take the floor out, right down to the concrete. Right now, each classroom has an accordion wall, which has duct tape. I did send you all pictures, courtesy of Michelle. And as you can see by the holes in the ceiling, the water damage we received, the flooring that is from 1960. We want to install new ceilings, LED lighting, real walls instead of accordion walls, wiring updates, 20 feet of cabinetry for storage, and new luxury vinyl tile. We received 2 bids that were competitive, and I would like to recommend awarding the contract to Gilbank Construction with a completion date by August 17th.
So this is on page 86 of the packet. Do you have, is there a dollar figure on this?
Yes, it is. Gilbank's bid was for $230,000.
Okay. And can you just brief us on budget-wise?
Sure.
How are we doing? Where are we at?
This will be coming out of next year's budget. This is a part of my 10-year capital improvement plan. So we are on course. Budget-wise, we're doing well. Yeah. So continuing on, I guess.
Questions? I see no discussion items. None? All right. I will entertain a motion, please.
Okay. I move that we approve the remodel project of 8 of Aldridge's classrooms using Gilbank Construction.
I'll second it.
Do you need the price put in there for the motion? Yes.
Not to exceed $230,000.
So let's clean up the motion a minute. So
Okay.
let's go. Can you go ahead and read that back with the dollar figure?
Okay. So I move that we approve the remodel project of 8 of Aldridge classrooms using Gilbank Construction in the amount of $230,000.
Second. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Kyle seconded. And Chris Klobuchar was not present and abstaining. Okay. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you for your support.
All right. Second item, can somebody cue Chris to come back in for board docs? Yep, you're on board. We might need a shorter walk in and out. So we are on to board docs. Chris, do you want to sort of summarize where we're at, what we wanted, or do you want me to? So on your, what we are bringing forth is to approve the use of board docs. Board docs is a program that would assist us in terms of communication and planning and agenda setting and make what we do much more structured. What we know, and part of the reason we're bringing this forward is in terms of budget planning. If we approve this tonight, it will come out of this year's budget. And from a planning standpoint, in consultation with Mr. Price, it made more sense to bring this through now for budgetary purposes versus waiting later.
I think one of the other things that is is a benefit is that it works well with our WASB policy service that we have redoubled our efforts to use more efficiently to keep our policies more up-to-date, more reflective of what's going on in the rest of the state, and more up-to-date with current law. The two things marry together very well, and it allows Michelle and her staff quicker changes. So that was the reason.
So I know that this will look very different on our end. So as far as like constituents looking at board packets, so it will look different on their end also?
Correct. The idea is that it would create a, and jump in, Michelle, if I deviate and I'm wrong, it would be a much more structured approach. So for all of us, in terms of how those go out, I think it would make it easier for the public to understand what we're doing in a more consistent way as well.
One of the things that I guess when I was looking into using this, so I went to a couple of different districts that use board docs to publish their policies. It makes it much easier to look up a policy, and then it gives you links within that to go to, so you can move to other places much more quickly and efficiently. You know, it's cumbersome to learn how to look up our policies until you've gotten used to it. This was very quick to use. You could, yeah, it was much simpler to find a policy you're looking for. So it was one of the things I liked about it.
Okay. And I would also, moving forward with this as we go forward with trying to be more transparent, I think it would be really great if the communication committee maybe did like a tutorial for the constituents on their on accessing, you know, right, or you know, that when we once we have it live and running, then we have some sort of a tutorial or you know, a way to help the constituents or, you know, the public access those documents. And I hope that would help them become more engaged and see what we're working on.
Michelle, can you verify the board docs program would come with a training package that would assist us with the public rollout, with the board training, with staff training in terms of utilizing that?
Yes. If we go with the package that she was recommending, that package has like 4 hours of training on day 1 for Jenny and I, and then 4 hours the next morning for Jenny and I, and then in the afternoon we bring in like the cabinet members, the administration, or anybody that would be dealing with it. So for instance, like Joanne's staff that do parts of the packet stuff, or Anthony's secretary that does parts of the packet, Emily's got a couple people in her office that do parts of the packet. They would all be in that training as well. And then there would be an evening for like 2 hours where the board would be trained as well on how to use it.
Michelle, a couple questions. And to me, you're the expert on this, so I really want your input on if you think this is a good idea. What I liked, I guess, is the package we're not getting, where they actually, you know, all of your meetings are on the iPad and every motion comes up. We're not getting that, right?
Everything will be there. I think the only major feature we're not getting is like the ability for you to type in your vote.
Oh, so we are going to have electronic meetings right in front of us?
Yes, you'll be able to pull up the packet will be right there in front of you and everything, and you'll see all of your documents, kind of like you do right now on your iPad. It'll just be easier to manipulate and move about. Like right now, Jenny and I go in and we put in the bookmarks for you, so that if you're opening it in Adobe or iBooks or something like that, you can click on the bookmarks and move more rapidly. But the iPad has a tendency to just open it in a view, and so you have to scroll unless you tell it to open in one of those other ways. Whereas with board docs, it will have the links built right into it, so you'll be able to just click right on those things you want to see, and it'll take you right to those pages and those documents. So, you know, at the beginning of our packets, we have other information for you,
those things you can bypass by clicking right on an agenda and then getting to those items. So you'll be able to move more quickly.
But when a motion is made, will it appear? I've seen demonstrations that.
If I'm typing into it, yes.
Okay. So the motion will be in front of each of us, and if it's amended, the amendment will. Okay, great.
That with Michelle tomorrow, and then email you to let you know that. And if not, she has said that at any time, if we want to upgrade to the highest package, because we're kind of choosing the middle of the road package, we can always upgrade to the highest package.
And then if we decide that we don't like board docs for some reason and we want to go back, how hard is it for us to put everything back the way it is?
I don't know that it would be that difficult, other than we'd have to download those packets and then just upload them to our old system.
I mean, we'd still have our old policies. We go back to it. Okay. And board docs doesn't give you policies. We still write our own policies or have them written by our staff and our attorneys, correct?
The WASB stuff that we have, like our policies, would be uploaded into the board docs portion of the policy, and then that works cohesively with the WASB policy resource guide that we just had at the last meeting and said we would work more closely with and updating with. So it's our policies that they're just uploading into their section of the board doc program.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I see no further discussion. Do I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approves the Board Docs agreement for Board Docs Pro with an annual recurring charge of $10,000 and a non-recurring charge of $1,000.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, that brings me to discussion items. Item A are items of interest for consideration at future meetings.
I have a couple of items here. Public participation at board meetings, policy 187 is the policy I was looking for earlier. You know, I didn't realize that it doesn't have a time limit set for public participation. So I think we need to bring that policy to the board if we plan on enforcing a time limit. And I think with that, the sooner the better. Let's see. The WASB board governance workshop, I think, would be a good idea. We have a hard time getting board members to go to it. Could we get someone from WASB to come down and have a special workshop maybe? And I think that's it. Thank you.
I just want to kind of dovetail on what Pam said. I'm just going to throw it out there. Maybe it's the wrong way to approach it, but so the other night I was doing some research on just some governance, different kinds of workshops that we could do, and maybe a goal at our next special board meeting is everybody kind of bring a couple different choices of things to look at, because I know you've looked through some, I've looked through a couple, and maybe spend some time. Not that WASB is a poor choice. I'm trying to think a little outside the box.
No, I agree with what you're saying. However, I do think the WASB is the most familiar with the role of the school board member, with the role of the board president and so forth. And
I was looking at some speakers from the National School Board Association. Okay. So I just happened to come upon some that were a little broader. So
I have nothing against that, as long as it's, instructing us in our roles as well as helping with governance and leadership.
I would also remind the board that everybody was issued a book from a presenter who presented at WASB in one of the conferences at the initial or at the longer presentations at the beginning of the meeting. So you all have that. I think maybe I need to get Kyle and David that book, but the rest of the board does have that book, and it details out pretty clearly board governance. So you do have that as a reference. Anything else?
Can I clarify something?
Sure.
So you took a vote earlier on the policy 443, 447 student code of conduct that failed, which was the vote to send it to committee.
No, we probably
but
never.
that's, like,
We didn't.
hanging out there. So am I
We didn't.
putting that on a future agenda or?
Okay, so we didn't, I skipped over and did not vote on that.
Right. I mean, like there was a motion made and a second, and then that was
That failed,
vote,
but we
and
didn't
that
go back.
failed, so it's like
Correct, it is currently hanging out there.
We can add that to a future agenda item.
Well, we're not adjourned at this point, so Michelle, help me with legality here. Can I go back to that item since I did not complete that item, or do I need a motion to do that?
I would think you could go back to it, but to be clean, you could have a motion to go back to it.
Okay.
Since I brought it to your attention.
So can I?
I'm not sure what to do with it 'cause
Yep.
it's kind of hanging there.
Nope, I appreciate the heads up. I missed that. So can I have a motion to return to the business action item, policy 443/447, student code of conduct and discipline, please?
Our motion to return to policy 443/447, student code of conduct and discipline.
All those in favor? Aye. Those
Nay.
opposed? Got it, Michelle? Okay, we are back at policy, at item B. May I have a motion for item B?
I move that we approve the changes that were made to policy 443-447 in the Student Code of Conduct and Discipline as presented tonight.
That motion is out of order. It conflicts with a previous board decision to send this to committee for updates. It
Again-
also conflicts with board policy that we don't approve a policy in one reading. The motion is out of order because it's against policy.
Okay, I'm going to overrule that. Do I have a second?
You can't overrule that, Lori.
We discussed it. We had a motion.
It's out of order.
We had a motion. We're going to vote. So do I have a second
The motion
on
is
this?
out of order.
Do I have a second?
It conflicts with something previously decided unanimously by this board,
Do
this
I have
very
a-
board sitting
Do
here.
I have a second?
And it's against our board policy. You're breaking board policy by doing this in one reading. We don't approve policies in one reading. How could any of you not be listening to staff when they tell you that they care about this and they want input?
Pam, I'm going to rule you out of order. We've discussed
I'm
this.
not out of order.
and
The motion is out of order.
We've discussed this. We entertained a motion.
Well, then I would appeal this
We
to the entire
voted.
board. You don't have the authority to say that you're going to overrule this. That's not the way it works. I appeal this to the board. This motion is out of order. And all of you know
Okay.
that we've had input all day long about this. At least I have, and I'm assuming some of you have. We decided as a board that this would go to committee, and it skipped that.
Again, the
It wasn't
language
done.
in this policy was changed to match the police department language.
No, there's no police department language that says that we tell the police how to do their job. There's no language that says they have to get our permission before pressing criminal charges against a kid who commits a crime. And I am just saying that we said it would go to committee. That's the place for it. I sent you all a WASB opinion that it goes to an ad hoc committee, not just a committee, but an ad hoc committee. And it breaks board policy. All of you need to say, am I willing to break board policy to rush this through?
This policy is consistently on the student committee.
No, it's not consistently. It's reviewed annually. And they're going to say this is our review when we said it would be reviewed.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I'll entertain a motion to table this.
I'll move that we table this.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are now down to announcements of future board meeting dates. I'm sorry.
I voted nay on that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
Okay, I'm down to announcements of future board meeting dates. Committee meetings. The student committee will meet July 17th, 2018 at 4 p.m. The staff will meet July 10th, 2018 at 5:15 p.m. The fiscal will meet July 16th, 2018 at 5 p.m. Infrastructure will meet July 12th at 5 p.m. Communication will meet July 23rd or August 13th at 2 p.m. And the business meeting is scheduled for July 24th of 2018. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
We'll do it right there. We'll just.